It's been over a week since Eyes of Wakanda landed on Disney Plus, and I've had some time to watch it, think it over, mull over in my head a little bit, and decide what I think about it. And I guess this is why I have this video now, to let you know what I think about it. First of all, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I like Disney doing more with the MCU on Disney Plus, but just not making it a must watch, if you catch my meaning. So it's not like they're forcing you to watch certain TV shows in order to understand what's happening in the movies, like what they did in the past, because I think that was a bit of a mistake, and that's kind of why the MCU's been, backpedaling these last couple of years. But let's not talk about that for a minute. Let's talk positives. And the positive is it's a nice, fun show. I really liked the story that they were going for, and I love how they pretty much lay it out for to you from episode one. They let you know exactly what the show is going to be about. It's going to be about the war dogs, the agents, the secret agents of Wakanda, essentially the Mossad of Wakanda, going on secret missions to recover stolen artifacts that were stolen from the highest vaults of the of Wakanda. It's essentially the Black Archive of Wakanda for you Doctor Who fans, or the Omega Arsenal. I guess is another a better example than that. So yeah, the animation looks stunning. It's incredible, with a slight minor exception for when it comes to the people. The people I thought were a little too real, and it kind of broke that uncanny valley a little bit. It was weird. It was weird seeing almost photorealistic people, minus the eyes, of course, because the eyes are always the hardest thing to get in animation and this kind of stuff. But it was a little bit weird. It was a bit off-putting, especially with all the close-up shots of some of their faces. So I did appreciate it. I did appreciate the episodes where some of the humans in the show had masks on, which sadly weren't that many. But yeah, besides the humans, the animation was really well done. The fight choreography was amazing. Some of the best fights in the MCU in recent times. I'm not gonna say the entire MCU, but in recent times, it's one of the best hand-to-hand combat fights, and they were brutal. You'd think that because it's an animated show on Disney Plus, they're gonna tone down some of the violence. No, they actually turned it up. Like you saw people getting stabbed with their own blades. You saw people being slashed to bits in this show, which kind of makes you wonder what demographic were they making the show in the first place. But I guess it's Disney Plus; they can do whatever they want. But yeah, going episode by episode, I think my favorite episode is the third one, but we're not going to talk about it right now. Let's talk about the first one. I also really liked the structure of the season, and I'm guessing it's going to be a one and done season because of how this season ended. But I liked at first the whole one episode leads to another. I mean, we get the main protagonist of the first episode at the end of the second episode, sort of essentially passing the torch. Thought that's what they were going to do with the whole season. Turns out I was wrong. But yeah, so talking about the first season in 1200 BC, like very early Greek Empire. Loved that. Really enjoyed the setting. First of all, the lion. I think what is a really interesting and cool villain. I would have liked to have known more about him. He would have made a great antagonist for the whole season if they were going to just focus on that one particular part of Wakandan history. But I mean, since he was like basically a villain of the week, he was there for just one episode and gone. It kind of took away from the intimidation factor of him. But I think if we had more stuff with him, he might have been a much better, well presented villain, I would say. Especially since, like, when the main protagonist, whose name escapes me at the moment, I apologize. It's been a few weeks since I watched it, but like she shows up and she starts taking out his chief lieutenants one by one. On the one hand, I mean, they all look very cool, they look very, very powerful and scary, and then this one woman just takes them out one by one, single handedly, which either makes them look really weak or it's there to serve how powerful she is, leading up to the final fight between her and the lion. But I mean, like, his chief lieutenants are getting struck down, they're dropping like flies, and the guy takes his time to pick out a suit, pick out a dress. Like, yeah, on the one hand, it's a cool villain moment, but on the other hand, it's like, don't you care? Like, this woman is making her way up to you. She's gonna get you eventually. And the one thing I will say about the woman that actually led the episode is that they don't make her flawless or perfect. Like, she gets her ass kicked a bunch of times in the episode, and there's a moment in there where it's like, I'm gonna die here, aren't I? Like, she, even herself, she's not sure she's gonna make it out alive, and she's fully aware that she's on her own against essentially an army of people out to get her, and she doesn't. It boggles the mind when they do this sometimes. When, like, a single person takes out an entire army without getting hit themselves. Like, they're essentially God mode in a video game where they can just, they take zero damage. Nothing phases them. So I like it when this happens in some video. I mean, hell, even John Wick gets the stuff kicked out of him at times in his movies. So yeah, I like it when they do that, when they don't just make the protagonist just one shot everybody. So yeah, that was nice. I did appreciate that, and even in her fight, despite knowing that she's the protagonist, knowing that she's gonna win in the end, that there were moments in during that fight where I honestly believed the lion was going to take her out. I honestly did think that, and what I appreciate about their fight even more so is that it wasn't just a physical fight, it was a fight of ideology. He was trying to convert her to his side, convince her to join him, just like he did with all the other people that she took out. Mainly because, she took him out, so he needs a new lieutenant to actually carry on his fight. So I did appreciate that, and I loved how even at some points during that fight, there was a moment where I think she was actually considering joining him, but then eventually she did the right thing for Wakanda in the end, which of course is the more important thing. But that's it for the Lion, the first episode. The second episode I also really liked a lot because it actually takes place during a historical event, sort of, allegedly. With, of course, the fall of Troy and the Trojan horse. Whether you want to believe that story actually really did happen with a Trojan horse, it's like, that's on you. But I love how they integrated the war dogs of Wakanda into actual real world history, and that's something that the MCU has been very good at doing whenever they did that. I mean, obviously, the most obvious example is, of course, Captain America. But I love that even back in those times, they were really the Wakandans basically had their hands on everything. Historical inaccuracies aside, and not necessarily sticking true to the actual story of the Odyssey, which we don't really need too much sticking to the story because we got the Odyssey movie with Christopher Nolan coming next year, so it doesn't really matter. So we can have fun in the MCU with this story. I think my favorite part about this is the relationship between Memnon, and I'm gonna call him Memnon because I don't remember his real name because they only mentioned it like I think once at the end. So Memnon and Achilles, of course. I loved their friend. I mean, they really captured the way the ancient Greeks felt about each other during those times and during comrades in arms, and really the camaraderie, the sticking togetherness during times of hardship and battle. I loved how they built essentially the entire episode around their relationship, which only makes the betrayal at the end that much more painful. You really do feel for Achilles when he realizes that his best friend, the guy he fought for, the guy he built, he hoped for, turns out to be not what he says he is. And I even like that he didn't actually betray him, he was just serving a higher purpose, which is, of course, Wakanda. I mean, who wouldn't put their own country and nation first, even in the face of a friendship as powerful as that? And so, yeah, I really enjoyed that. And also, another thing I really appreciate about the episode is that they actually made it pretty clear that the Trojan horse was Odysseus's idea, as opposed to someone else coming up with the idea, like they did in some other franchise I'm a fan of. Just saying. But that was the second episode. I think it's my second favorite, but the third episode is my favorite because, again, I thought that one episode was going to lead to the next, so I really think that in this episode we're going to see the continuation. We're going to see the Memnon as an older man passing the torch to the protagonist in the third episode. Turns out we did. We actually jumped several hundred years into the future, and we actually went all the way to ancient Kunlun. I think that's how you pronounce the name of the country. Basically, it's. I mean, there's no point in covering up a spoiler here. Iron Fist. I will say this: that one episode was better than both seasons of the Iron Fist show, and which kind of saddens me because I really did think that by the end of the second season they figured out what they wanted the show to be, but it never got a third season, which sucks because we could have had a good Iron Fist season with that show, but we didn't. But thankfully, it looks like Marvel hasn't forgotten about this particular side of the of the Marvel universe, because we got an actual good Iron Fist in this episode, and I really did love the character who was the Iron Fist for this episode. I will say though, my one biggest negative about the episode is the protagonist for this episode. I think he was a little too cocky for his own good, a little too obnoxious, but at the end of the day, he did the right thing. He did what he needed to do, and you might question the way he went about it, but there's no denying that eventually he came to his senses, so to speak. And I loved the fight scene between the Iron Fist and the Wakandans. I mean, like, it's very tough to nail that balance of, you want to make the Iron Fist, look powerful and intimidating. Otherwise, what's the point of even having Iron Fist in this episode? But at the same time, you don't want to denigrate the Wakandans too much. You got to keep that balance of, yeah, the Wakandans are still the Wakandans, but Iron Fist is the Iron Fist. And so I loved that she didn't actually beat the main guy from the episode straight up. That basically the majority of the episode was focused around their fight sequences. And my favorite part about this episode is the entire thing could have been avoided if he just removed the tongue from the dragon statue in the first place. It's like, listen, guy, she's there for the statue. You had to take the statue because there's vibranium in it. And you couldn't remove it. Why didn't you tell her that from the first place? I don't know. I think the more I think about it, the funnier the situation becomes. But yeah, the final episode, somehow I think the prince, is my least favorite of the four main protagonists in this series. But I loved the mentor character. I really, really did enjoy him, and I wanted him to be the focus of the episode. But I mean, of course, being the prince, the son of the king of Wakanda, the kid needed to take center stage. And obviously, as soon as I saw that axe thing, that pickaxe, the hammer, whatever it's called, I recognized it immediately. I knew exactly where the story was supposed to be going, and then they threw a curveball at me in the form of time travel, of all things. It's like, okay, okay, I like what you're doing. Keep going. And so I loved how they basically made that one piece of Wakandan history so important, and how they tied it back into the Black Panther movie, which I love. Obviously, if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you'd know that. But yeah, I just love how all four of these stories, these seemingly unrelated stories, came together in the final one, and I love that. I love when TV shows do that. I love when the finale of a season makes the entire season that came before it worthwhile, with no filler episodes. Obviously, I mean, in a 4 episode season, it's kind of hard to have filler episodes, but you get my meaning. So yeah, again, fight choreography incredible. I love the technology. I would love to know more about the future of the Horde, or whatever. I wonder if that's a storyline that maybe Marvel and Kevin Feige are planning to explore sometime down the road. But overall, like I said, I think it was a nice, important wrap up to a very well made season. I just kind of wish they promoted it a little bit more. I don't even think they had a proper full trailer for it for this season. Like, they only had like a few snippets as short, and then they just put all the 4 episodes on the service, and that was it. So yeah, I wish I'd known more about the show rather than just opening up Disney Plus one day and just finding it and seeing all 4 episodes there. So yeah, and speaking of which, I guess there's really no better time for me to talk about this. Let's just also talk about Ironheart as well. I liked it. I mean, I wasn't warming up to it at first, and again, speaking of marketing, I didn't think they did a really good job marketing that show as well. It had like one trailer about a couple of weeks before the season started to drop on Disney Plus. I don't think that the trailer was that good, but I did like it. I did like the story of Riri Williams and her relationship with the AI protagonist in her suit. I really loved their dynamic together. I will say this: I was one of those people who felt Riri was like shoved into Black Panther 2, and I've gone in depth about my disappointment for that movie a bunch of times already. But she was one of the main things that I did not appreciate about the movie. I felt like she was completely redundant in that movie. And I get that they only put her in the movie because they were setting up for this show. I understand that. I liked the show. I did not like her inclusion in the Black Panther movie. I think it felt very, very forced. Unlike the show, which it feels natural. And I kind of like the mom character in the show, uh, because she's reacting in the most unrealistic way possible. You would never think that she would react the way she did to finding out that her daughter, the smartest person in the world, built an Iron Man suit in her room and has a holographic AI of her dead best friend as company, just running around the house. Okay, sure. I love how casual she was about this, and of course, I mean, the Hood. It's a character that I never really gravitated to. The only place I knew him from was from that video game from a couple of I can't even call it a video game. The Marvel Puzzle Quest, whatever it was called. Where you have to match 3 things, and he was a major part of that. So that's how I knew about the character. And of course, I knew about the cape that belongs to Dormammu and magic bullets in the pistols or whatever. I feel like as a villain, I think he really worked very well in this episode. I loved how they used him. The crew he ran with are questionable at best, because you know they kind of looked a bit incompetent. The only people who were on that crew who were actually good at what they did was Riri, especially when she had to improvise on the spot a lot of the times, and the guy who was his right hand man who was killed in that one episode, and of course the Hood himself. So I really kind of think that the crew of people were a little bit pointless in the episode and then the series. They could have just had the Hood and his one guy and Riri on their own, and they could have basically done about the same. They could have been about just as effective as the entire crew were during the entire season. I really liked Alden Ehrenreich's inclusion in the episode, and again, just like with Eyes of Wakanda, I love how they connected his character to MCU history, and not just that, the first movie that started it all. I really loved his inclusion. Yeah, kind of, they kind of lost me when they basically made him an electric supervillain or whatever. I think I preferred him as the dorky geek guy. But it is what it is. I mean, it's the MCU, and I think my biggest problem with that is that his fight scene with Riri Williams in I think it's the penultimate episode or the last episode. I can't remember which one. It kind of feels redundant because I mean he kicks her ass and just decides to walk away. So yeah, I didn't like that part of it, but obviously I gotta talk in the end. The moment we've been waiting for, basically since WandaVision, since the first. I mean, we got payoff to the first ever movie in the MCU. We finally get a bit of payoff for the first TV show in the.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
MCU, assuming you don't count Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, or any of the Netflix stuff there. It's something we've basically been waiting for since WandaVision. Mephisto finally makes his MCU debut, played by none other than Sacha Baron Cohen. You could not have cast this any better if you tried, and they did try because they got the best possible option. So yeah, loved seeing him in the final episode. Can't wait to see more of him, and also I really liked the way that he weaved himself in and around the entire season. And by the way, I've been seeing some people suggesting that perhaps it was Mephisto's influence that actually brought the AI best friend Natalie to life in this in this entire show. And I'm seeing a lot of people pushing back on that. It's like, of course he brought the AI Natalie into existence. I mean, seriously, watch the episode again. How did she create the AI in the first place? She was half asleep. So I don't really get people who try to counterpoint that. It's like, of course he's Mephisto is essentially the MCU's version of the devil. Of course the devil's going to give you what you want to get you to sign a deal with him. That's how he hoodwinked Ghost Rider into becoming his into his servant, essentially. It's like, of course it was Mephisto. I don't get people who say otherwise, but I mean, hey, I could be wrong, of course. I could be wrong. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. I just think that they made it incredibly obvious that it was Mephisto that actually brought Natalie to life. Sort of brought Natalie to life. But yeah, can't wait to see more of Mephisto in the MCU. I hope he wasn't just a one and done, like we've seen so many in the MCU in recent days, in recent years, I should say. There's so many characters. They were just stealth bombed into post-credit scenes of movies that we're probably never going to get to see those characters again. So hopefully, Mephisto's coming back. Whether or not Ironheart is going to show up again, I don't know. I hope she would, because I really did like where her story went by the end of the season, much more than in the Black Panther movie. It's like, again, like, you helped save all of Wakanda from Talokan, and she's still struggling financially. Really? Like, couldn't she just phone Shuri and ask her to help her fund her Iron Man suit? Whatever. The show, I think the first couple episodes of the show raise more questions than they answer, but it doesn't really matter because it really came together by the end. So yeah, didn't like how the show began, but I loved it steadily as it progressed overall. But one thing I will say, and I think that will be my closing statement here, is that I'm really not a fan of how they dropped the episodes and like 3-3-3-3. I think no, 3-3-3. I don't remember how many episodes the season had, but I'm not a fan of that. It's like, to me, this is a personal matter. To me, you either drop the whole season at once or just one episode at a time. I cannot stand this new trend of dropping 3 episodes in a block, and I get why they did that. They structured the episodes to feel like you're supposed to watch all 3 at the same time and then move on to the next. It was effective when you watch it. I'm just not a big fan of as a viewer, not as a critic, not as someone with prior knowledge of how TV works. As a viewer, I did not like that. I did not like that when they did it for Endor, and I'm dreading having to go through that again for Stranger Things later in the year. But that's just me. That's just how I prefer to view stuff. It's like, again, you either drop the whole season at once so people can talk about it for like a week or so, and then it just gets forgotten, like Eyes of Wakanda, or you go weekly and capitalize on the whole month worth of things. Now, of course, they basically kind of dropped it around the same time that Superman was coming out, and I get it. They wanted to finish the season and get people to move on from the show in time for Fantastic Four. I get it that Marvel and Disney are under so many pressures with how they choose to release their stuff that I'm just not privy to know. But I'm just saying, in hindsight is always 2020. I don't think it worked for me personally. That's what I'm gonna say. Either way, again, 2 essentially good, very good Wakandan based shows. I mean, Ironheart's not really Wakandan, but she did appear in a movie with Wakanda in the title, so there's something there. But yeah, 2 really solid shows for the MCU on Disney Plus, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the shows from Disney Plus transitioning into more of you don't have to watch them to understand what's going on in the movies, but it helps. So hopefully, when and if Mephisto makes his movie debut in the MCU, that is, it's gonna be, they're gonna make it in such a way where you could view this as his first introduction into the MCU without having to go back and watch this one show on Disney Plus to understand where he came from. I mean, he's, like I said, he's the Marvel version of the devil, so you don't really need to think too much about where he came from. Let's put it that way. Anyways, I've been talking for about half an hour, and I'm getting tired now. So yeah, really like both of these shows, and can't wait to see what the MCU has in store for us next. I think there's like a couple more shows that were announced, and maybe more made, and never got released. So we're in a bit of a transition period of trying to get rid of all the stuff from the Bob Chapek era into the second coming of Bob Iger. and beyond. So yeah, only time will tell what we're going to see next from the MCU on Disney Plus. But that is all I have to say for now. Thank you for watching. Wakanda forever. Hi there. Thank you for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends. I'll see you next time.